Today we got an 04 RAM. The complaint is that the odometer doesn't work. It doesn't show anything. The odometer and the trip. So let's hook up the scan tool. Already got our pre-scan up and running. Let's see what our codes are. ABS, right front sensor open. Everything else, no issues. Let's go into the instrument cluster. Let's see if we can read out the odometer off of this guy. Brake switch. Odometer switch. Does that change when we press the trip button? Yes, it does. So it is reading that input there. That's a good sign. Let's see if we can actuate this guy. Max brightness. Nope. Yeah, I don't think any of these tests are gonna work. That could be an issue on the scan tool side. Let's go system tests. Calibration points. Speedometer. Oh, that guy works. So as I press that, let me go tack, set it to 6,000. Yeah, we can see that the gauge system test works, but we're still not seeing anything on the display. Did that tack go all the way around? 0 RPMs. I'm gonna set the tack to 1,000 RPMs. I think the tack spun all the way around. Let's try 6,000. Well, that's a problem. Anyway, let's do one thing at a time. So we know that the cluster self-test works. We know that it's reading the input for that guy. Let's go and let's see if we can read out the mileage. Usually that's going to be stored in the PCM or the BCM. If it's not stored in the instrument cluster like we checked. Read data stream. Let's try odometer. Perfect. And we got 189,000. Seems about right. Let's now pull up a diagram for this instrument cluster and figure out how to get it out. Because either way, we're going to have to get into this cluster now to reset that tack. So update on the tack. I had to rewatch that to make sure I did that. So let's see if I can recreate it. I'm going to set it to 6,000. Yeah, and it spins all the way around. So be careful if you run that test. So the way I got it to work is we're going to start it up. And then we're going to set the tack to 6,000. And hopefully, yep, she spins back the other way around to 1,000. So, a little warning note if you use that. And while I was playing with it, I noticed that this temperature gauge, if we click, I'm going to set it to half hot right now. That's what's saying is half. Let's go temp gauge, We're gonna go full hot. So max. That's max for it right there. So something's up with that guy too. We need to get a wiring diagram and get access to behind this cluster, make sure it has all its powers and grounds there proper.
So here we have the diagram for the instrument cluster. On the left is the cluster itself, and I already have all the powers and grounds highlighted here. So it looks like we have a total of 4 powers, constant powers, and 3 constant grounds. And then we also have a few run, start, ignition, accessory feeds. So I went ahead and I checked all this already. I didn't film it because I could not find a good way to film it because my arm was halfway into the dash. So I omitted filming that. And next step is we're going to take the instrument cluster over to the bench and we're going to power it up on the bench to see if that display is still off on the bench while we're giving it all of these powers and grounds.
All right, so we got the dashboard opened up and we got it powered on. Now we can start testing. First off, what we're working on is a vacuum fluorescent display. You can see how we have a whole bunch of different terminal pins on here. It's pretty simple the way these work. You have the filament pins and you have the anode pins. You should have a constant voltage at the filament, and then different anode pins will be lit up, will be given power to light up the display in a certain way. It's closely related to a CRT. And you can see that little black spot down there on each corner. Those are called getters. They're in there to trap any gases left over when the vacuum is pulled on it. If that turns white, then you know you no longer have a vacuum in there, and then the display is garbage. So we can see that we're not lit up here at all. So let's take our oscilloscope probe and let's check the known good first. And we can see we have about 2 volts on our display on the filament pin here, and this is probably going to be ground. Yeah, we have ground there, and we can run over here and check. And we have nothing there, probably ground. And then ground on the other side too. So you can tell someone's been on this board already because I saw that this VFD on the back side looks like it's been resoldered, and it's a little messy all over the place. Solder everywhere, someone trying to fix it. Anyway, if we take a close look, we can see that we get power on this pin across to this resistor here. So if we take a look at the oscilloscope on one end of the resistor, oh, see that little ramp right there? And next thing you know, it's on. So why did touching or probing that resistor turn the display on? Because now if we check, yep, we got power there now. So what we likely have is a bad resistor or a bad joint right here. Yeah, see that? Oh, there it goes again. Display's on. And if we look at the other side, we got a constant 2 volts there. Oh, there we go, turned off. Do we still have power? Yep, we still have power on the back end of the resistor, so we know that the resistor's cutting out. And front end resistor's still off. Yeah. This 1 ohm resistor's garbage. Or it's probably the solder. Because right underneath we have that big old thing of a resistor, and these things generate a lot of heat. Like that's hot to the touch. Those are big power resistors that are meant to dissipate a lot, but by putting it right underneath it, that solder joint's pretty susceptible to cracking. All right, so we got that resistor touched up. Not the prettiest job in the world, but I can tap it, do anything, and our voltage is rock steady. And yeah, I'll have to see about replacing a couple of these bulbs because they've been going on and off as I've been working on this thing. But yeah, that's the repair. Time to put it all back together and get it back in the car. And here we have the dash all back together. See the odometer's working. All our gauges line up. You can run the self-test if you hold the trip button at the same time and then and then turn the key. And then it's going to cycle through the gauges. And we can see everything. Looks good. That temperature gauge is now working. When I was putting that back together, it felt as though they had installed it too tightly before and it was binding against the actual dashboard itself. So just leaving that a little bit of clearance against the dash fixed that issue. Now that motor spins no problem.